The interesting point and the very important point is that we should absolutely see that which creates our attitude, that which controls our attitude, because there's a mind program, there's a conditioning of the mind, it's a way to think. The way to think is a certain paradigm, or it's a certain narrative, it's a certain discourse, let's call it a discourse. The way we think about things is a certain discourse. And the way we think about art, for example, is not very helpful when it comes to improving global world society, because we have institutionalized art. Art is a product that is supposed to serve the artist, of course, and the gallery and the collector and the museum and society as a whole, but it is actually also counterproductive the way that we think about art in many ways, because the resources from art, which is elite knowledge, the elite knowledge that lies hidden and immanent in high-class art, scientific and philosophical, and especially scientific and philosophical knowledge in an aesthetic framework, that is a hugely important resource. So art, the way that we think about art, is to make sure that these resources improve our own experience of society. We don't institutionalize art, but we make it available. We put our knowledge on the table because we want to improve the world. Same as with the media. The media is very counterproductive many times, because we understand that we need to improve the world, but we don't improve the world when we get drowned in news news stories that only confirm old narratives, only confirm old ways of thinking. We need new ways of thinking. We need to improve the world. We have outgrown the old paradigms. We have outgrown the old strategies and attitudes, We have to shed the skin of the old programs, of the old mind programs. University education, of course, YouTube is the best educator in this time. You can find anything on YouTube. If you're really clever about YouTube, you can educate yourself better in 1 week than a normal student will do it in a university somewhere, Even the elite universities like MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Columbia, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, even students or even programs in these elite universities cannot compare to 5 days on YouTube, If you know what you're looking for, then you will get elite knowledge. You will come to the source. You can, instead of sitting in a university and waiting for that which you need, you can go directly and find it. So there are things that we have to change when we think about education and when we think about art. How can we use art as a resource for society? And the media, what kind of responsibility should the media take for giving oxygen to new ways of thinking? The media has a responsibility. They have to invite new paradigms into the stories. They have to make sure that new ways of thinking are also made possible in society. And the media should inspire the public, to improve things. The politicians should influence the media and demand a certain attitude and strategy from the media itself, and then the media should activate and sow seeds into the public that are appropriate for what we want to achieve with society, so that we have a purpose. We are going to improve the world, and we are going to do it in this way. We're going to improve the world in this way. With these resources, with this attitude, with this strategy, we are going to improve the world. So in many ways, the art world as it is today, the media as it is today, university education as it is today in certain areas and in certain universities and in certain regions are actually counterproductive in a sense, counterproductive in a way, when it comes to how we can really truly start to activate our potential for improving the world, because that's what we have to do. The world is in a really bad shape, so we have to do that. The purpose and the meaning and the aim and the goal is to improve global world society, and we have to do that by ourselves with our own individual spiritual and emotional and ethical resources, and we have to do it with the resources that are absolutely a part of the classic value system of art: truth, beauty, and the good. Truth, beauty, and the good, they are the classic old values. They will always be relevant. So instead of institutionalizing art, instead of thinking that art belongs in a gallery or in a museum, we have to think that art is an attitude in itself. Art is a strategy in itself. Art is a way of life when it comes to also taking responsibility for the greater good, for the greater good of society. And we have to do that now, because in this time it's so obvious to all of us that we have to improve this world. We have to improve our own ability to organize and control and influence this world. We simply have to make a better global world society, and that's just completely self-evident now in this time. And what else can we do than use the resources then that we have? And when it comes to art and education and the media, art and education and the media, we should absolutely try to get rid of the counterproductive attitudes that are a result of the way that we have programmed ourselves to think, because the way that we have programmed ourselves to think is deciding how we are thinking. The way that our mind and brains are conditioned produces the way that we think. So now it becomes important that we try to change the way that we program ourselves, that we change the way that we think, that we come to find a better attitude and strategy when it comes to giving and sharing that which we have to give and share to the world in order to get the results that we need, which is first and foremost to improve global world society.